Hello, and welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll find the most recent news, entertaining moments, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Yuela Nicoli, the singer, became one of the newest members of Big Brother VIP Albania 5 last night. Born in Lodz, but raised outside her homeland in Milan, the girl who entered the Big Brother VIP Albania house smiling on Tuesday evening hides a painful story and many tears in her past. Yuela lost her fiancé a few years ago, shortly before their wedding. He was shot to death along with his sister by her ex-husband. The singer said that she experienced this event very badly and that period made her stronger, more aware. "I went through a lot of pain and anxiety. At first, I thought the pain would have been unbearable, but over time I realized that life changes by how we choose to face it. I worked hard on myself, and that beautiful love that he had left me became a light in the darkest moments and showed me that I could get up again. It became the strength that lifted me up." She stated, "This period has made me stronger, more aware of what I want, and taught me to find light even when I thought there was none. I can say with full conviction that I succeeded, and I still have a lot to build, just as he has always believed in me. This period has made me stronger, more aware of what I want, and taught me to find light." Yuela Nicoli is the newest resident of Big Brother VIP 5. She was born in Lodz and grew up in a very close-knit Albanian family outside of Albania, in Milan. Her parents were always careful not to lose the roots, culture, and values that they had had all their lives. Her early years were marked by discipline and a great deal of affection for her three sisters. She was a calm, curious, and very active girl, always with big dreams. After graduating in European economics, she began her musical projects. He grew up with the pop movement, but over time he began to seek out other sounds, more Balkan, a little more Oriental, a little dark pop, ballads that represent him more. Piano lessons also helped her connect with music in a more professional way, even though she is still very much a beginner. A few years ago, she lost the man she was preparing to marry. He was killed that year in the backyard of their home along with his sister by her ex-husband. She says, "I went through a lot of pain and anxiety. At first, I thought the pain would have been unbearable, but over time I realized that life changes the way we choose to face it. I worked hard on myself, and that beautiful love he left me became the strength that got me through the toughest times and showed me that I could get up again. This period has made me stronger, more aware of what I want, and taught me to find light even when I thought there was none. I can say with full conviction that I succeeded, and I still have a lot to build, just as he has always believed in me." From Big Brother, he expects an experience that could open another chapter for him. She is an ambitious, cultured girl who works hard, but also has a soft heart and a great love for art. When the doors of the Big Brother house slid open and the newest housemate stepped inside, the audience reacted with curiosity. Some recognized her immediately, an Albanian pop singer with a soft voice, striking stage presence, and a career that once promised uncomplicated stardom. Underneath her composed smile, others detected something more substantial. What many viewers didn't fully grasp at first was the weight of the past she carried with her into that house. For the singer, whose name has been both celebrated and whispered about in tabloids for years, Big Brother was never just another television opportunity. It was a reclamation, a public step forward after surviving a tragedy that once threatened to silence her entirely. Years earlier, her life had been irreversibly altered by an act of violence that shocked Albania and reverberated far beyond its borders. Her ex-husband, someone she had once loved and trusted, was responsible for the deaths of his fiancé and his own sister. The crime dominated headlines, ignited debates about domestic violence, mental health, and media responsibility, and dragged her name into a story she desperately wanted to escape. Now, standing under the bright lights of reality television, she was choosing not to run anymore. A career interrupted by tragedy. Before the tragedy, the singer's life followed a familiar rhythm. She released successful singles, performed at festivals across the Balkans, and appeared regularly on entertainment shows. Emotional ballads, songs about longing, heartbreak, and perseverance dominated her music, but nothing about her public persona suggested how closely those themes would soon mirror her actual life. Her marriage, once celebrated by fans, quietly fell apart. The divorce was finalized without scandal, and she attempted to move on, focusing on her music and personal healing. By all accounts, the separation was painful but civil. She had no reason to believe that her past would one day return in such a devastating way. Then came the news. The murders, brutal and incomprehensible, sent shockwaves through the country. Her ex-husband was arrested, and the story became a national obsession. Her name was frequently mentioned in headlines, social media discussions, and speculative commentary, despite the fact that she had no involvement in the victims or any connection to them beyond her previous marriage. She became collateral damage in a crime she had no part in, living in the shadow of actions taken by others. In interviews years later, the singer would describe that period as the darkest chapter of her life. She stopped performing. She avoided public events. Even grocery shopping became a challenge, as strangers felt entitled to ask invasive questions or offer unsolicited opinions. "People looked at me as if I was part of it," she once said, "as if loving someone once meant I shared responsibility for what they later became." The guilt she felt was not rational, but it was relentless. She questioned her judgment, replayed memories, searched for warning signs she might have missed. Therapists would later explain what she was experiencing, a common response among people connected, even indirectly, to acts of extreme violence. But understanding didn't erase the pain. Music, once her refuge, became difficult. Every lyric felt exposed. Every performance invitation came with the fear that the audience wasn't there for her voice, but for the story attached to her name. For a long time, she chose silence. So why enter one of the most intense, scrutinized reality shows on television? According to those close to her, the decision wasn't impulsive. She had been approached numerous times before and had turned down each offer. This time was different. Big Brother, she believed, offered something she had been denied for years, the chance to be seen as herself again, not as an ex-wife, not in a tragedy as a side note, but as a woman living, breathing, laughing, arguing, cooking, crying, existing in real time. "It's easy for people to reduce you to a headline," she said in her introduction video, "but living with me for weeks, that's the truth." Producers were aware of her history and discussed at length how to handle it responsibly. There would be no reenactments, no sensational teasers, no pressure to relive trauma on camera. The story, they agreed, would unfold on her terms, or not at all. Inside the house, strength in vulnerability. From the first days inside, viewers noticed her calm presence. She wasn't loud or confrontational. She listened more than she spoke. Other housemates gravitated towards her, sensing a depth that couldn't be faked. When the conversation inevitably turned personal, she didn't shy away, but she didn't overshare either. One evening, during a quiet moment in the garden, she spoke about loss, about how someone else's violence can fracture your own identity. "I didn't commit a crime," she said softly, "but I lost my sense of safety. My name is no more." The moment resonated deeply with audiences. Social media, often cruel and unforgiving, reacted with surprising empathy. Many viewers shared their own stories of abusive relationships, of being judged for someone else's actions, of rebuilding after trauma. The story started to change for the first time in years. Public perception begins to change. The singer's presence in the house over the course of several weeks made her more approachable than any interview could be. She laughed during silly tasks, struggled with sleep deprivation, clashed occasionally with more dominant personalities, and showed moments of insecurity that felt painfully real. Critics who once dismissed her as connected to scandal began acknowledging her resilience. Mental health advocates praised her quiet courage. Even those unfamiliar with her music started streaming her older songs, hearing new meaning in lyrics written long before tragedy struck. Importantly, she never positioned herself as a victim of the crime itself. She consistently emphasized that the true victims were the two women who lost their lives. Her pain, she said, was different, but still valid. That balance earned her respect. A new chapter, not a redemption tour. The singer has been careful not to frame her Big Brother journey as redemption. "I don't need to be redeemed," she said in one confessional. "I need to live." That distinction matters. Her participation isn't about erasing the past or asking for forgiveness. It's about reclaiming agency in a story that was taken from her. Whether she wins the show is almost irrelevant. For her, the victory lies in visibility without shame, in proving to herself more than anyone else that she is allowed joy, ambition, and presence despite the darkness that once surrounded her. When Big Brother eventually ends, the cameras will turn away, but the impact of her decision will linger. She has already hinted at returning to music, possibly with material inspired by survival rather than sorrow. More importantly, she is open to conversation rarely addressed in celebrity culture: what it means to be forever linked to someone else's crime, and how society often punishes proximity instead of guilt. Her story is not one of scandal, it's one of perseverance. And as she continues to walk through the Big Brother house, sometimes smiling, sometimes quiet, always authentic, she reminds viewers of something easy to forget in a world obsessed with headlines: you are not the worst thing someone else did. The fact that an Albanian singer was accepted into the Big Brother house during the most recent season sparked immediate conversation. To some viewers, she was a familiar face from music videos and festival stages. To others, she was a name forever linked to a tragedy that once dominated national headlines. But for the woman stepping through those doors, the show represented something far deeper than a career move. It was a decision to reclaim her identity after years of living under the shadow of someone else's actions. Long before reality television cameras followed her every move, her life was quietly derailed by a crime that had nothing to do with her, and yet changed everything. A day in the life before the news. Before the tragedy, the singer's career followed a promising trajectory. She had built a loyal fan base in Albania and across the Balkans, known for emotional pop ballads that blended vulnerability with strength. Her performances drew praise for their sincerity, and her public image was that of a focused artist steadily finding her voice. Her marriage, once celebrated in entertainment media, eventually ended in divorce. The separation was difficult, but not scandalous. In the hope that the most difficult period of her life would soon be behind her, she moved forward and devoted herself to music and personal healing. She was wrong. The crime that changed everything. Years after the divorce, news broke that her ex-husband had killed his fiancée and his own sister. The details shocked the country. The crime dominated television panels, newspaper headlines, and social media feeds for weeks. Even though the singer was not involved and had parted ways with him a long time ago, her name quickly became part of the story. Public curiosity turned invasive. Online discussions speculated about her past relationship. Comment sections filled with cruel assumptions. She found herself repeatedly mentioned in connection to a crime she neither committed nor could have foreseen. In an instant, her identity shifted in the public eye, from artist to ex-wife. The burden of association. The singer felt suffocated in the aftermath. She withdrew from the spotlight, canceling performances and declining interviews. Every appearance risked reopening wounds, not just her own, but those of the victims' families. She chose silence, believing it was the most respectful and safest option. Yet silence came with a cost. She struggled with anxiety and guilt, emotions common among people indirectly linked to acts of extreme violence. She questioned her past choices, replayed conversations, searched for signs she might have missed. Therapists would later explain that this form of self-blame is a trauma response, not a reflection of responsibility. Still, understanding didn't make it easier. Walking down the street, she felt watched. In professional spaces, she sensed hesitation. Offers dried up. Music executives worried that her name carried baggage. The tragedy had created an invisible barrier between her and the life she once knew. Choosing Big Brother. Against this backdrop, her decision to enter Big Brother surprised many. The goal of reality television is to amplify conflict and emotion. For someone who had spent years avoiding attention, it seemed the opposite of self-protection. But for the singer, the logic was clear. People think they know you because of one sentence they read. I want them to see me as I am, without filters, without headlines. Time was something that Big Brother provided that traditional interviews did not. Weeks of unscripted moments, ordinary conversations, silence, laughter, frustration, vulnerability, a chance to exist beyond the worst thing someone else did. Producers confirmed that her participation came with boundaries. She would not be forced to relive trauma on camera. Any discussion of the past would happen only if and when she chose. They agreed that she would be the focal point. Inside the house. From the first days inside the Big Brother house, her presence was understated but compelling. She stayed away from drama, listened carefully, and built relationships slowly. Other housemates described her as calm, thoughtful, and emotionally intelligent. When the topic of her past eventually surfaced, it wasn't through confrontation but conversation. She talked openly, without providing any specifics, about how the violence of another person can destroy your sense of self while sitting with other contestants late one night. She said, "I didn't lose my life. I lost my peace." The moment resonated with viewers. Social media reactions shifted noticeably. People who had been criticized for relationships they had broken up long ago, or who had been blamed for the choices made by others, began to send supportive messages. For many, her story reframed the tragedy, not by minimizing it, but by highlighting a rarely discussed consequence, the lifelong impact on those left in the margins. Public perception begins to shift. As days turned into weeks, the singer's visibility inside the house began to change how she was seen outside of it. Viewers watched her navigate everyday challenges, sharing chores, managing conflict, missing family. These ordinary moments, repeated daily, slowly dismantled the simplified image attached to her name. Mental health advocates praised her for modeling quiet resilience. Commentators noted how carefully she spoke about the victims, never centering herself as the primary sufferer. That restraint earned respect in a media landscape often driven by excess. Her music also saw renewed interest. Old songs resurfaced on streaming platforms, with fans interpreting lyrics through a new lens. Lines about survival, strength, and rebuilding suddenly felt prophetic. Not a redemption story. The singer has repeatedly rejected the idea that her Big Brother journey is about redemption. "I don't need to be forgiven," she said in a confessional. "I didn't do anything wrong. I just want to live without fear." That distinction is central to her story. She is not asking for absolution or sympathy. She is asking for space, to exist as a person rather than a footnote to a crime. Her choice to be on reality television is not about erasing the past. It is about refusing to let it define her future. Beyond the lenses. Whether she reaches the final weeks of Big Brother or leaves earlier, the impact of her participation is already evident. She has re-entered public life on her own terms, with boundaries intact and dignity preserved. In interviews waiting beyond the show, she plans to speak about trauma, judgment, and recovery, not as an expert, but as someone who has lived it. She has hinted at new music as well, created during periods of isolation and reflection. Most importantly, she has shifted the conversation. Her story challenges a culture that frequently assigns guilt by association, particularly to women who are connected to violent men, however distantly. It asks viewers to reconsider how easily society simplifies complex human lives into headlines. As she continues her days inside the Big Brother house, one truth becomes clear. Her presence there is not about controversy, it is about courage. And in choosing visibility over silence, the Albanian singer is quietly rewriting a story that was never hers to begin with.